Om Bhadram Karnebi Shrunuyama Deva Bhadram Pashyem Akshaviriyajatra Sthirairangai Stuštavansas Tanuvi Vyashema Deva Hitam Yadayu Swastina Indro Vruddashrava Swastina Pusha Vishwaveda Swastina Starksho Arishtanemi Swastino Brahaspatir Dadatu Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. We are studying here Muṇḍaka Upanishad with Shankar's commentary. And last time we were reading the 12th mantra of the second section of first Muṇḍaka. And we are reading the commentary. And the context is that Shaunaka has gone to Angiras and asked him, what is that knowing which everything becomes known? And Angiras tells him that knowing itself is of two kinds. You must first know that knowing itself is of two kinds. In the first kind, subject is knowing the objects. And in the second kind, that is the lower knowledge. And in the second kind, you are knowing the common reality, which is your own reality. So it is not subject knowing the object. And where the subject knows the object, that and karma, all those things come in. So the lower knowledge is not science. Science is not accepted as knowledge at all. That which is available to the five senses is, you can read science like that. But all types of subtler knowledge, where the subject knows the object, is included in what is called Vedic Karma Kanda. And the other knowledge depends upon your doing that action. But the other knowledge does not depend upon my knowing or your knowing. It depends upon the nature of the reality. And so the nature of the reality was described in brief, yatta dadreshyam agrayam ityadi, not available to senses of perception, not available to senses of action, neither a subject with instruments nor the instruments, all these were described. And same thing has been seen as the creator, preserver and destroyer of this world. And then in short, that was described. What I was telling is that in the second section, the idea is that unless you know the full range of the lower knowledge, you will not have dispassion for it. And unless by dispassion we reject the lower knowledge, we are not fit enough to get the higher knowledge, real knowledge. And that is why in the second section, in full details, it was described that sincerely you have to do, devotionally you have to do, and methodically you have to do. And if any fault occurs, everything will be wasted. And then it was told that if you do properly, you will go to heaven, they will welcome you there. And then suddenly the turn was given that this is all brittle. The boat is very brittle. It cannot make you cross the ocean of samsara. And then after that, in this 11th mantra, another category is touched. And that is the grahasthas who are peaceful and they know the reality to some extent, and the vanaprasthis are the dwellers of forest, and those who are sannyasi by rule and become the ashram sannyasis, all of them are living in the forest with tapasya and shraddha. They are not engaged in the gross ritualistic work, but all their work is mental, subtler. So they have a lot of austerities, faith, and they stay in the forest. They are tranquil in their mind. They have some knowledge, and they gather their food by bhiksha. they, of course, go through the rays of the sun, they virajaha, relatively no coloring in their mind, and they go to where that Avyayatma, unchanging Purusha, Amrita, nectar like immortal is staying. And now, so that was described by Shankaracharya as the Hiranyagarbha or Brahman with universal mind. And because you are going there, so it is not permanent. Because the description is of going somewhere, it cannot be the final. Because if you reach the final goal, then you don't have to go anywhere. You become all-pervading Brahman here itself. And therefore, that is relatively the highest in this transmigratory world. And that is called Brahmaloka. And I told you the same thing looked at differently is called Vaikuntha or Kailasha or Shivaloka, Vishnuloka, Goloka, Satyaloka, and these days Ramakrishna Loka. So they're all where you stay united with God. So united with God is one idea, and identified with God is another idea. Where you lose your individuality, then only you can be identical with the transcendent immanent reality. So long as your I is there, even this Aham Brahmasmi is a vocal expression, not of the final realization, because final realization will have no vocal representation at all. So this is describing those who go to Brahma Loka. And after that, now this 12th mantra has come. So another way of looking at it is that now they are telling to examine all the lokas. So that highest loka also is included in your examination. Because after that sudden departure from the heavens, we are describing the highest loka, and after that we are describing that you must examine all the loka. So that is also a relative loka, though highest from the worldly point of view. In that respect now, we go to the 12th mantra and we read it again. Pariksha lokan karmachitan brahmano nirvedavayat nasti akruta krutena kim syat tad vijnanartham sa gurumeva avigachet samit pani shrotriyam brahmanishtam. So we get the subject here is Brahmana, and a Brahmana is not a caste. The meaning of the word Brahmana is followers of Brahman, devotees of Brahman. Those who are trying to realize the reality are called Brahmana. Now, what they do, they examine all the spheres of life. All the spheres, one above the other or below the other, and all types of spheres of experience, they examine karma chitta, that they are all obtained by doing something. By doing something, you get something. That is the nature of all the lokas of this universe. And seeing that they are like that, the Brahmin should get vairagyam, should get dispassion. What is the type of dispassion? Nasti akruta. There is nothing in the universe which is not the result of some action. In the whole universe, up to the Brahmaloka, there is nothing which is not the result of some action. Here we must include the mental action also the action. Though physical action is not necessary, mental upasana purely can lead one to Brahmaloka. But that is also an action. Subject acting upon the mind, on the objects. So, there is nothing in the universe which is not the result of some action. Krutena kim syat, what shall I do with these things which are results of some actions? Because they will be finite. They cannot be permanent. So, what shall I do? This is the type of dispassion that nothing in the universe is not of the type of result of action. And so, what shall I do with that? Now, tad vijnanartham. Tad means reality. That. Now, that reality which is still remote from me, so I am calling it that. I am not calling it it because I have not realized it. So, tad, and I want to realize it. Vijnanartham. Vijnana, where the V is added, it is experiential knowledge. So, I have to experience and know that reality. What should I do? I must go to a guru. Must. Gurum eva abhigacche. So I must go to a guru. A guru is a person who has realized. And guru is described in the next line. Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. He should be well versed in the spirit of Vedas. He need not have read the Vedas even. Because there are knowns of Brahman well known to us. For example, Swami Adbhutananda, disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, who did not know reading and writing, and it was as much a Brahmajna as Swami Vivekananda. So, Shrotriya does not necessarily mean having studied the Vedas, but Shrotriya means knows the spirit of the Vedas. And the spirit of the Vedas is communicated by Vishwaguru Sri Ramakrishna. So, that is Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. Always his mind, it has been described for another disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Shivananda or Mahapurush Maharaj, by one of his disciples, that their mind is like a compass needle. You disturb it a little, it immediately goes back to the north. So their mind is Brahmanishta. Their mind is always centered in Brahman. Even if you disturb it a little, it will immediately go to Brahman, immediately. So that is Brahmanishta. These are the qualities of the Guru. Shrotriyam knows the spirit of the Vedas, and Brahmanishtam, mind always settled in Brahman. To such a Guru, he must go. Gurum eva abhigacche. And how he goes? Samit Pani. In those days, the Yajna and Homa was always going on in the ashramas. So as a symbol of his spirit of surrender to the Guru, offering to the Guru, he takes some fuel wood in his hand, representing that you can use this, sir, and I am offering it to you. So offering oneself was done through Samidas. Now he has gone like that. That we are reading the Shankar's commentary. Atha idanim, we read something. Atha idanim asmat sadhya sadhana rupat sarvasmat sansarat viraktasya. So one who has become fully dispassionate about this, which he gets by doing something, that is the transmigratory word, parasyam vidyayam adhikara pradarshanartham. Then only he becomes to fit for knowing the real knowledge. To show that this mantra has come, Pariksha yad etad Rugvedadi Aparavidya Vishayam, that which is the topic of Rugveda, etc., the ritualistic portion of the Vedas. Swabhaviki Avidya Kama Karma Doshavat Purusha Anushteyam. There is a natural defect in man. Natural defect in man. What is that? Ignorance or wrong knowledge, subject-object knowledge, and desires coming out of it, and the desires is prompted to do some work. With this dosha, then only man performs action. Anushteyam avidyadi doshavantam eva purusham prativihitatvat. And the Vedas consider such a man that he is not fit to receive knowledge. So let him do good works. And for him, the Vedic ritualistic portion, which are good and holy, is prescribed for such a man who works under wrong knowledge. Tad anusthana karya bhutascha loka. And what he performs, as a result of that, they get the different spheres. Ye Dakshinottara Marga Lakshana Phalabhuta. As a result of his work, he either goes by the southern path and goes to Pitruloka, the loka of the forefathers. Those were virtuous forefathers. In Valmiki Ramayana, we get that after Rama won the war, Dasharatha looked at it from the heaven. So that is a Pitruloka where the virtuous forefathers reside. Yekecha, and the other is Uttara Marga. If they mix meditative knowledge with the work or only meditative knowledge, right up to what is described in the previous, that Viraja Prayanti. Up to that, it is called the northern path. Going to some God's place, going to some deity sphere, or going to the highest sphere, which is Brahma Loka or all these lokas. So there, Dakshinottar Marga Lakshana Phalabhuta Yecha Vita Akarana Pratishedadi Karma Dosha Sadhya Narakatirya Preta Lakshana. On the other side, those who do the prohibited work, bad work, so they have to go to either hell or become being of a lower species than man, or remain without a physical body for a long time. They are all spheres. Tan etan pariksha. All these type of lokas have to be examined. The highest sphere, the devalokas, different devalokas, the pitrulokas, human birth, and lower than human birth, all these have to be examined critically. How examine? Not that we have to go there every time. Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, Agamaihi. By what you experience, that itself you can examine. And by reasoning based upon your experience, Anuman, in that way you can examine. And this is like that, Upamana Praman. By that you can examine Agamaihi, and what the scriptures are telling. With the help of scriptures you can examine. So these are the different ways in which you can examine the lokas obtained by lower knowledge or wrong knowledge. Sarvato yathatmena avadharya. So from all angles, you understand or know their real nature. Lokan, sansaragati bhutan. Their spheres included in the transmigratory movement of man. Avyakta is Savarantan. Avyakta means unmanifested. The world is yet to be manifested. That is the sphere, the beginning sphere. Ishvara, God, that is the matter before it is manifested. So from that, the higher than the highest loka up to the lowest loka is becoming stocks and stones or plants. So from here to here, you examine all of them. Avyakruta, then Vyakruta, Avyakruta Lakshana. Most of it is manifested, some of it is unmanifested. Bijankuravad itarotpara, itaretarotpatti nimittan. So from this seed comes this sprout. This sprout will become a tree and produce another seed. So in this way, from the unmanifested become the manifested, manifested becomes destroyed later on and goes to unmanifested. Like that it continues. Anekanartha Shata Sahasra Sankulan. They are filled with evils, anartha, unwanted things. How many? 100,000. Aneka, many, 100,000. That means uncountable evils. All the evils of life, whether physical, mental, social, economical, all these are in these relative worlds. And they are filled with all these evils. Sankulan. Kadali Garbhavadasara. like the inside the stem of a plantain plant, there is nothing substantial there. Now, up to this we had read. The examination is still continuing. And Shankaracharya is now describing their illusory nature. Temporary, from temporary we go to illusory. Maya, Marichudaka, Gandharva Nagarakara. Maya means magic. The magician shows some trick. In old India, a rope trick was famous. And many Britishers of those days have described that. The magician comes on the stage, salutes you, then from where he gets a rope. From somewhere like that he gets a rope. And he throws that rope, and that rope stands. And then he, as if climbs on that rope himself, along with some weapons. And there is a fight going on there, with whom we do not see. But that magician, as if is using all his weapons and fighting. And that magician gets cut into small pieces and falls down on the stage. And then the magician stands and says, this is my trick. So the rope was illusory. The magician who went on that rope was illusory. Who fell down was illusory. Who was fighting was illusory. But when he stands up, that is the real magician. So like that is this world. Like that Upamana Pramani had said. So like that is this world. That it appears to have been created, it stays for some time, goes on changing, gets destroyed, gets annihilated. So remember that all the lokas, even Brahma Loka, they are all of this nature, like created and destroyed by magic. That is the first point. Marichudaka. The second, there is no reason to explain this. It is by Upamana Praman that they are best understood. Known things, from known things go to unknown things. We know this magic. Then another is Marichudaka. You go to a desert and water appears there. So the water appearing in a desert. The famous story is by Swami Vivekananda himself. He was traveling through what we call Rajasthan today, Rajputana in those days. It was a desert. Now it's difficult to believe. Huh? There are big, big waters and plants, and that is, man has made that. But if you go to open countryside, you can even see now. So he was traveling for days together, and there was always appearing as water lakes. And he used to think why people call it a desert. When he went to quench his thirst, he found there is no water. It is only sand. And when he got up, he again saw water. But now he knows it is not water. Perceiving water, consciousness of water. Perceiving no water, consciousness of no water but sand. Again perceiving water, but consciousness of sand appearing as water. So, like that, this world appears real today, but when we'll get real knowledge, we'll find it was only an appearance. So, like that, Marichudaka. Gandharva Nagar, sometimes you look at the sky and a beautiful city appears. Beautiful city with people, movements, palaces, and then it vanishes because it was not there. It appeared only due to physical phenomena. So, that is another example like that. Gandharva Nagara kar means of the type of. Some other examples. Swapna, in dream we see so many things. And when we get up, they are not there. They lasted till we dreamt. I remember here one or two examples. One, Swami of our Lord. Whenever he met me, he was a famous Swami. Whenever he met me, he used to say, only for logical congruity, Shankar rejects this such a big world. I did not reply, but I used to think in dream we also get such a big world. That does not make it real. It is not only for logical congruity, it is for the reality. The nature of the reality is not such that it will appear big world and vanish. So even in dream, another idea, incident I remember, one of my friends, very Hindu type, Orthodox, went to America for study. And after 7 or 8 years came back. And in Nagpur Ashram, there was a brick lying on the ground. And he kicked it and said, is this also Maya? Is this also unreal? Because you are experiencing your kick, you think it is real. In dream also you have kicked many bricks. So dream is an easy example to understand that world though we experience is not real. So here he gives the example of dream. Dream example is a very good example to understand the falsity of the world. Here another thing, let me remind you, because sometimes some devotees or sadhakas get disturbed when they hear that dream is unreal. Divine dream is a very different category. If you see God or a Brahmagya Purush only, either God or a Brahmagya Purush in dream, it is not unreal. It is as unreal as the waking state, or it is truer than the waking state. It is of a different loka. But that is not under the category of illusion. When the scriptures talk of dream, they talk of ordinary, non-divine dreams. This you must remember. Then there will be no conflict. So, in dream, we see things and they last till dream is lasting. So, dream example is given to say that lasting as far as we experience, they vanish. And in dream, another thing comes that we see, I am eating a mango. Mango is a creation of my mind, and that I, which has got, is eating the mango, is also equally creation of my mind. I am sleeping on the cot. So, the subject and the object both are produced by the mind. And that is the play of the mind. That with the mango, I get associated as object. And with the I who is eating the mango, I become associated as the subject. So both the subject and object are creations of our mind. When we come to the waking state, they are the creations of Brahma's mind, not our mind. The mind universal is God with the universal mind. And we are all different ideas in that mind. Now, within that mind, I am an idea, you are an idea. So for you and me, we are external to each other. You and me, we are external to each other. In the universal mind, there are two ideas. So, this you have to understand. 2, 3 things about dream. One is that divine dreams are excluded from this consideration. Secondly, in dream, things appear, and when the dream is broken, it has gone. Thirdly, in dream, both the subject and object are creations of my mind. Applying this similarity to the waking world, both the subject and object are creation of the universal mind, not you and me. This is a mistake done by some Vedantis. That is the Buddhistic idea, subjective superimposition. I am not the creator of this world. I am the creator of my own world in dream. The creator of this illusory world is God. From God's mind, both the subject and object are born. From the God's mind, I and you separate are born. So, but it is a dream. When God withdraws it, everything vanishes. After the pralaya, nothing is seen. Before the creation, nothing was there. So, like that dream, Swapna, Jala Budbud, Fena Sama. In water, another example similar to explain some other thing, some other aspect of this unreal world. That in water, there is bubbles and foam. Now, what are the bubbles? Only water. The form is gone. What is foam? Only water. The form is gone. This is an example, huh? Because critically you will say air has entered or this or that. But whether it is bubbles or foam, they are nothing but forms of water. And you wait a little, that is appear, again you get the water plane. So similar to this, that we are, that is a different example. It tells us that we are all nothing but forms of God. Dream told us that we are not real, creations of the universal mind. And the second example tells us that we are nothing but forms of God. Bubbles and foam both were water only. So, I, you, he, she, it, and the world we experience is the appearance of that very reality. For that, this is the more useful example. But as such, it is unreal. There is nothing called bubble, there is nothing called foam. It is after all only water. And this bubble and form will vanish in no time. So I, you, he, she, it will vanish. At present, what we see is nothing but forms of the reality. So, Swapna Jala Budbud Fena Saman Pratikshana Pradvansa. That is what we see from Maya Marichudaka Gandharva Nagara and Swapna Jala Budbud, that every moment it is getting destroyed. Every moment there is a change, and change means destruction of something. The form is destroyed. So we must critically observe that everything is Shanabhangur, brittle, breaking down every moment. Whatever is composed, gets decomposed every moment. Though we may see after some time, we may see this building last for 100 years. Change starts happening. When you fill up one pillar with concrete, before you go to construct the other pillar, decomposition has started here. Only it did not get the form of a crack. That may take 100 years. But the destruction starts every moment. Destruction goes on every moment. This should become our pariksha. Our pariksha tells us that pratikshana pradvansa. Now what do we do with it? Dispassion. That means, I remember here, I told you last time that my Guruji used to recite this poetry in one breath. Shankar has become poetical in this description. Prushtata krutva. We show our back to that. That means we leave it behind and go forward. Prushtata krutva. We do not have a look at that even. We will not have even a look at that. We'll show our back to that and go away from that. Prushtata krutva. Avidya kama dosha pravartita karma chitan dharma dharma nirvatitan iti etat. We'll understand that they are the products of my wrong knowledge, desire. These two defects were with me, and because of them, I was goaded into some work, and from that they appear. The appearance is real to me only because of my wrong knowledge, desires, and due to these defects of wrong knowledge and desire, I was prompted to do some work, and from that they have appeared. Dharma dharma nivartitan iti etat. And the work was always some good and some bad. due to some good work, desires may prompt me to so bad work. Desires to go to heaven may prompt me to do good work. So they are of the nature of prompted by desires, some good or bad work, and from that the lokas have come. That is the examination. This is the full examination of all lokas without going to the lokas, depending upon what the scriptures have told and using our brain, using our direct experience and this Hanuman, Upaman, etc. We examine all the lokas, including the Brahma loka, and then Brahmana. Now the next word in the text is Brahman. And we have seen Brahmin means a follower of Brahman. Brahmana seva visheshato adhikara sarvatyagena brahma vidyayam iti brahmana grahanam. Let us try to understand this sentence. Shankar says that no, it can mean two things. Apparently, it means the Brahmins of Brahmin caste. And Brahmins of Brahmin caste, if they are really Brahmins, typical Brahmins we say, then they have the special fitness to understand all this. And that is why in the Brahma Vidya, they only appear to be fit. That is the literal gross meaning taken by the word. We can understand better in the light of Sri Ramakrishna's teaching that a man who is really follower of Brahman, he is referred to here because he is naturally fit to realize Brahman. A man who is follower of Brahman, not follower of this or that deity, wants to know the reality as it is, such a man only has special fitness for renouncing everything. The question is of renouncing everything. How many Brahmins by so-called caste you see fit to renounce everything? They will stick to it till the end of life. So, typical Brahmins, we call them, are Brahmins means Sattva-guni people. Brahmins means followers, devotees of Brahman. Now, devotees of Krishna or Rama or Ramakrishna, if they know Ramakrishna or Ramakrishna is nothing but Brahman, then they are also Brahmins. And they may belong outside to any caste. Just now I referred to Adbhutanandaji. He was of the family of shepherds. Swami Vivekananda was not a Brahmin by caste. He was Kshatriya. So, and in Sri Ramakrishna's disciple, somewhere Vaishyas. So, Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra is not by caste.